It's official. We've gotten to the point where people are starting to feel bad for the Meg. Even people who don't like the Meg. People feel sorry for her. Like this person. Meghan is lost. She doesn't know who she is. She embellishes so much, and you can tell she has a hard time genuinely connecting with someone. It makes the other person uncomfortable, and it makes all of us watching it uncomfortable too. But that's still no excuse. I've said this before. At a certain point, once your frontal lobe finishes developing, once you're in your mid to late 20s, it's time to take responsibility for yourself and own your own shit, good and bad, and fix it. Be aware enough to recognize and self-evaluate. And if you're not, you're choosing not to be, because you have the full capacity of your brain power at this point. You have your full reasoning skills. There is no more excuses. It's time to grow, be better, learn your flaws, fix them, and take responsibility for them. And she's not. She's still making it everybody else's problem. Pokey says, that's why Meg mentioned pantyhose, so now when it's Googled, it will show up. She's trying to bury what she did to Princess Charlotte. Everything spoken is calculated. That's a good point. Didn't think about that. Rochelle was talking about resting bee face, basically. She says when she's listening to someone or doing something, even if it's something she loves, she makes some of those faces. I'm deep in thought, I'm listening to the person, and for me, it goes back to that feeling of being told I need to smile all the time. I know she's on a TV show and at least she should have a pleasant face while listening, but I think it's just her face, and honestly, not that serious. Fair. I can relate to an extent. I don't think that explains Meghan's faces all the time in this. I think that she would have had a more pleasant face. Did I just see them doing fried eggs? A professional cook and Markle explaining how to do fried eggs. Is it my imagination and they need some sleep? No, that is something they included in the show, as redundant and foolish as that sounds. It is. The reason why I find analyzing Harry and Meghan's nonsense interesting is in part because of the constant PR fails, the styling fails, things like that are fun and interesting to analyze, but also because of that element of these highly narcissistic patterns. And yes, I have dealt with and learned a lot about those types of dynamics because of my experiences in those types of relationships and situations and around those types of people. And I think that there is a level of education in a way in seeing those patterns of behavior in real life, seeing examples of it that aren't acting in a movie, that are more real life examples, and being able to identify them and explore why they set off alarm bells in people, or why they rub us the wrong way, and why it's like a red flag. And I think that that's not only interesting, but also helpful for people who have previously dealt with or are actively dealing with narcissistic relationships or people high in narcissism, to be able to see it play out in a situation that's kind of disconnected from yourself and talk about it, think about it objectively, identify and call out exactly why it's problematic and whatnot. I think it can be very, very helpful and also interesting. So there's an element to it that I think fascinates people in that way of, oh, this is an example of that happening in real life. That doesn't involve me, and I can see it, and then I can see that pattern in real life as well, and better manage it and react less to it in real life because you can intellectualize it a little bit more. Not that I'm an expert, but that's sort of one element to it that I do find interesting to think about a little deeper sometimes, and why. I'm not a fan of Meghan Markle, however, I just watched 4 episodes and found them much more tolerable. In fact, I dare say it wasn't that bad. I didn't see her as arrogant. She seemed more engaged with, and guests seemed to enjoy their time with her. What am I missing? I found myself saying over and over, this isn't that bad. I don't know, maybe I'm getting soft. You're getting soft! No, I'm just kidding. Denise, you're not soft. It's true that on the surface, it doesn't seem that bad. But when you think about it from a critical perspective of like a show critic, or when you think about it just on a broader context, how insane it is for Meghan to be doing this show, given her history. Or from the angle of, okay, it's not that bad, but what is it giving me besides just watching this happen? I'm not learning anything. Why am I going to waste my time? I'm a particularly efficient person. I really like efficiency because At a very young age, I had the realization that time is our most valuable asset and I don't want to waste it. So chores and homework and things that I have to do that I don't love doing, I want to be efficient about them. I want to get maximum results in short amount of time. And so watching a show that is pointless and not delivering any value and is also not entertaining is a complete no-go for me. It's off-putting. I just won't do it. And I think a lot of people are like that. They don't want to waste their time on something that's not entertaining and not valuable. But of course, you're entitled to your opinion. If it's not that bad for you, enjoy it. Miss Sparkles says, no matter what she claims, she's highly insecure with absolutely no idea of who she really is. I think that does explain a lot of Meghan's actions and her almost like nervous energy that she has. At the same time, it circles back to what I said before. You have to own yourself. By the time you're in your 40s like Meghan is, it's time to stop messing around, you know? This is who you are. These are your personality traits. These are your, tendencies. Manage them appropriately, please. Do you really think Meghan ordered 1 million units for As Ever? Is that 1 million in total? Would she have the funds to pay for these items? So I think that Netflix would have put up the money for the order, but then they would get that money back through orders fulfilled before Meghan got any profits. I don't think she ordered 1 million units for each product. I think if anything, it would be 1 million units across all the products. So maybe across 10 products, each one would have 100,000 units, for example. Cassandra says, I've thought about this not only as a marketing person, but also someone with a lot of information about Meghan. I think the Bloomberg article was supposed to release on a different day, but Meghan insisted it came out the same day as With Love Meghan Part 2. After a while, Bloomberg said fine and released it. Also, none of the products have sold out even now. Yeah, they still haven't sold out. Maybe. It definitely was filmed probably in July, I think it was. So for it to release, I can only imagine that it was meant to release like the week before With Love Meghan. I also think that they maybe moved up the release of With Love Meghan. Maybe that was the original date Bloomberg was supposed to release it, and they changed the With Love Meghan episodes to release a week early. But it doesn't make sense. I can't imagine anybody across Bloomberg, With Love Meghan, or Netflix or like her PR team would have intentionally had it all out at once unless they knew it was going to be tons of bad reviews and they wanted to mask that. Janet says, not sure, but did Martha Stewart, Ina Garten, Rachel Ray, and other long-term presenters have to be interviewed and tell the world how much people love them? Did these people have to reach back 5 and 6 years to whine about injustice and nasty in-laws? When someone makes their point in a conversation, then leans in, pauses, and smiles and stares at me to get my buy-in, it is one of the most creepiest things anybody could ever do to me. In the past, I used to agree and nod my head just to get them to stop, but I won't do that anymore. I literally stare back and turn the awkwardness back at them. Yes, no, I agree, and that's one of those things with the whole narcissism tie-in, that it feels like a tactic and it's unsettling. I also don't do that. I kind of just refuse to validate people in conversations if I actually don't agree. I don't pretend to agree. The pantyhose was brought up to deflect the question. She has a pattern of deflection with most questions, and she does not do well with interviews ever and sounds inane. Yes, and I think that the lack of actually answering the questions is becoming a big problem. Every single question of the Bloomberg interview was a deflection. Every single one. It was insane. Thank you for joining me for today's short video. I sure hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Have a happy day, everybody. Bye!